Alright, so hello everyone and welcome to this very special podcast of NMIMS Indore. Today we have left a great job at Google and followed his passion and ended up creating one of the India's most heartwarming food stories. He's popularly known as the Bohri guy, the man who built a brand around his own mother's cooking and even wrote a book, How I Quit Google to Sell Samosas. So let's give a very warm welcome to Mr. Munaf Kapadia.
Thank you so much.
So, sir, it's a pleasure to having you here. To start off, we'll keep it light. So, how are you feeling today here at TEDx? You were also a student here, so now you're here giving a podcast. So, how are you feeling today?
It feels amazing. I'm humbled to have been invited to give a TEDx talk out here. So, like you said, I'm an NMIMS alma mater. I studied in Bombay. And when I see this beautiful campus in Indore, I'm like the size of your corridor out here was the size of my classroom in Bombay. So it's very exciting to be here.
Great, that's wonderful. So, back in your student life, sir, did you ever imagine leaving Google, like already being there in a high corporate job and leaving that and following something which was very uncertain? So, what made you do that, like exactly? What do you think? What did you think at that time?
So when I was a student, no man, not at all. Like when I was a student, I had no idea what I wanted to do professionally. In fact, the only thing I knew is I didn't want to do finance. I didn't want to do law. I would have loved to become a coder or a programmer, but I didn't pursue it. So someone told me, hey, you have a creative bent, maybe go into advertising. Then I found out folks who are in advertising don't get paid well. So I didn't do that. And somewhere destiny took me into a sales role and I started selling chewing gum for release. That was my placement after NMIMS as a management trainee. And just, I don't know, as opportunities clicked and I started working and I started understanding what is it that actually I find exciting about the work I do, more than the field I'm in. I managed to put myself in situations that allowed me to discover new opportunities. And eventually, so my first job was selling gum for release as a management trainee. Then I left that and I took a massive pay cut and I joined Google, where I joined the AdWords team, the sales team.
Okay.
I loved that. Like, I learned everything about performance marketing out there. Then randomly, one day I'm sitting at home talking to my mom and this idea emerges that we should invite people home to eat food made by my mother. And the Bohri Kitchen was born and people reacted so well to it that I said, let's quit Google, to do this full time. And just every single professional decision I've made, honestly, it's kind of been it's almost serendipity. It's happened because in that moment I was like, this sounds exciting.
True. I mean, it shows out how unexpected turns life takes, with shaping everybody's different own paths.
Yeah.
So I'm sure many students here can relate to that. So moving on, sir, you said before that Bohri Kitchen began simply with your mom's cooking at home. So what was the exact that's the moment where you realized that it could be more than just a family activity?
So nothing like that. It was so at that time I was working in Google. I had my weekends off, which I've heard you students don't even have your weekends off, which is very sad. I was sitting at home and I was watching Simpsons on TV. This is the pre-OTT era. And my mom comes in and she changes the TV channel to watch one of those Saas Bahu shows. And I made a very chauvinistic remark. I told my mother, I dared to tell my mother that, Mom, like, do something more productive with your time. So my mom obviously put me in my place. She said that the productive thing I did with my time is I raised you and your 3 siblings. So don't tell me to be productive. But that conversation eventually led to an idea, which is my mom's a phenomenal cook. And we belong to this community called the Dawdi Bora community, where our food isn't easily available outside the community.
Okay.
So can we connect those dots and can I do something with my free time on the weekends to try to market this? And that is how the idea of the Bohri Kitchen was born.
Sir, would you like to tell us more about this Bohri community and how did they evolve or something like that?
Absolutely. So within Islam, you have Shia Muslims and Sunni Muslims.
Okay.
Within the Shia sect, there's a very small community called Dawdi Boras. the community, I think originally we were somewhere in the Middle East, we were in Yemen. And from Yemen, we migrated to Gujarat and eventually to all over India, now even across the globe. There are probably, I think, at most 10 to 20 lakh Bohris in the world.
Oh.
So it's a small community.
Yeah, it's a small community.
Now, what makes our food interesting is our origins are Yemenis. So think Middle Eastern food. And the way we eat is also very interesting. So we eat out of a large plate. It's called a Bohri thal.
Okay.
So it's maybe like a 3 feet diameter thal, where 7 to 8 people sit around the thal, sit on the ground, shoulder to shoulder, and eat directly from the thal. So it's a very interesting bonding experience when you join somebody on a Bohri thal and you eat that meal. At the end of the meal, either you're best friends because you bonded, or you hate the person sitting next to you because they had your samosa, something like that. So our community, the food we eat, the Yemenis origin, the Gujarati influence, and also just our dining practice, all of this made for a very interesting opportunity to take something to folks outside the community.
Okay. That's amazing. It really proves that, even the simplest of family traditions can turn into something like very extraordinary.
Dude, you have no idea. Like, if there is one thing the Bohri Kitchen taught me is that if we could do it, if me and my mom could just join hands and we make something so popular, that became so popular that gives me opportunities like this, anyone can do it. And especially in India. So in India, one of our biggest assets is our culinary heritage. It's the fact that we have so many communities and cultures within this small country, across states. If you found a way to empower that next housewife, that next son and daughter to work together, to take their respective community and culture and dining practices and open up their home to a dining experience, I think it would be one of the most revolutionary things that we can do as a country. Unlocking an existing resource without any upskilling, without any need to open restaurants or open new infrastructure. It's literally lying at home, we just need to open it up to the world.
That's very interesting and that's very insightful. So, moving on, sir, let's talk about something like leaving Google must have been a tough decision for you. So, given the comfort and prestige it offered, like already you had it on your plate. So, what was the hardest part and how did you convince yourself and your family?
So first, somebody had to convince me because I think I must have been 25 years old, 26 years old, as a 26-year-old whose first significant job was Google. Quit Google. Right? And I loved my job. I loved the money, I loved the prestige, like you said, and the people I worked with, it was all like check, check, check. But being the restless guy that I am, on my free time, I always wanted to do something else. So that's how the Bohri Kitchen was born. In fact, before the Bohri Kitchen, I started a bumper sticker website called Stick It and Go. But that's another podcast. So I did that, and then one day I'm talking to my manager at Google, and I'm having a conversation with him about what next at Google. And I told him that I want to move to another country for Google, like Australia or the States or something like that. And he said that, Munaf, like you're doing well, so maybe that opportunity does exist for you. But what about the Bohri Kitchen? So I was like, you've heard about the Bohri Kitchen? And he said, yeah, I was on a Jet Airways flight. And he randomly read about it in the Jetwings, the magazine, the Jet Airways flight. And he's like, it's really become popular. It's amazing what you're doing. So I was like, sir, it's just a weekend, fun thing. So he's like, don't underestimate the potential of it. And in fact, he gave me the courage to leave my job. And he actually told me that, like, worst case scenario, give this a year. If it doesn't work, call me again, I will still be in Google. And then he will, get me back here. So he took the risk away. And to have somebody like that in my life at that point.
That kind of support actually, which you need at that particular point. That's very interesting.
It's priceless, and you should look for people like that and opportunities like that in your life.
But still, at your part, it must have taken like real courage, like being at 26 and facing.
So I would like to say it did, but then at the same time, I'm fully aware of my privilege, which is I have that opportunity to give up a year of income to pursue my own dreams. My parents have given me that privilege. The harder thing was really for my dad, because he's worked his ass off, to raise his 4 kids. He's a businessman. He works 7 days a week, literally 24 hours a day, and he did that so we didn't have to do that. So when he saw his youngest son leave the comfortable job, that he worked so hard for me to indirectly get, that was difficult for him. And he didn't understand it in the first few months. Like, how could I quit Google to start an F&B business I knew nothing about? So he was very worried about me and he discouraged me, but I think after a few months or maybe a year, he became my biggest supporter as well. So the courage really was. I think it's my dad who displayed tremendous courage, more than even me.
That's special. That's just special.
Yeah.
So moving on, food businesses are rarely, just about taste. They're about culture, emotions, community, and many more things. So how did you turn that TBK not just into a brand, but a storytelling platform for Bohri cuisine?
Fantastic question. So fun fact, the Bohri Kitchen was never supposed to be an F&B venture. So it was never supposed to be a food and beverage venture. It was actually supposed to be a FB venture, a Facebook venture. Okay, so I started the Bohri Kitchen not because I'm so excited about my community and I was like, I'm going to empower my mother, none of that. It was because I felt that I had learned how to use Google to sell things online, but I had no idea how to use Facebook.
Okay.
So I wanted to create an experiment which allowed me to use Facebook practically. So I said, let me build a business on Facebook. Let me narrate a story on Facebook. And let me see if by doing that I can learn something practically and get my hands dirty. And that's how the Bohri Kitchen began. So it was a story I narrated about a mother and son inviting people home to eat food from this little known community. And the story was 95% honest, but it was obviously packaged in a certain way to make it. I put that little masala on it and it worked. People fell in love with the story. They fell in love with how I narrated it. They fell in love with little twists and turns in our story, our ups and downs, our events, our milestones, our failures. Even I made something called a no serial killer policy, about inviting people home. All of these small things made the Bohri Kitchen more of a story than even a business. So much so that now we have a book on it.
Yeah. So my next question was exactly that. Like, I want to know something more about that book. Like, you wrote it. What were you thinking by writing it? So please tell us.
So in my mind, the Bohri Kitchen was always, it was a story worth telling.
Okay.
Of a family, of a community, of a culture, of inviting people from outside the community, of the impact it had on them, of the impact it had on the family. The journey my mother went through. Suddenly she went from being a housewife in a household where the father or the men bring in the money, to reaching a point where she generated more money than we did.
Yeah.
And with almost like half the effort. So
I get it.
so that story was always worth telling. And when I got this opportunity to turn it into a book, I was like, shit, this is exactly what I want to do. And it took me some time. It took me 6 months to 9 months to write the book. My wife helped me. We co-authored the book. And we wrote it during COVID. So we had the time to sit at home and introspect and think about it. But it came together very organically.
That's great. All of it. That's just amazing. So it was also such a powerful message about passion, creating an impact. So with that, sir, I would like to wrap up this short podcast. It was very amazing to have you here. So thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. Listening to you, it's clear that isn't just a story about food or business. Like you said, it's about courage, family, and following heart, like where it takes you. What do you want to do exactly? So even when the path isn't clear, it's uncertain, totally. So that was amazing. I'm sure our listeners here at NMIMS and those watching online will take a lot of inspiration from this. Also, we wish you and the Bohri Kitchen even more success, sir. And we hope you have to, be back again and with more stories. We wish you luck. So thank you once again. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thanks for that.